Hello, everyone. This time I'll be sharing with you the adult video Sunday school lesson for the upcoming Sunday, the first Sunday of July, July 7th. The lesson title is called Ceaseless Love. I love that title. If you're in any kind of a serious relationship with someone, such as being married to someone, you definitely want that relationship to be ceaseless, where one person does not give up on the other. The scripture comes from Lamentations chapter 3, highlighting verses 16 to 24. The book of Lamentations is probably not most people's favorite Bible book, yet it is still a very valuable Bible book from both historical and spiritual perspectives. Although it is a book of poems, it is included as prophecy, the prophecy of Jeremiah when lamenting or weeping over the loss of Jerusalem and the temple. Jeremiah was writing in the worst of times, following destruction of his city and nation by Babylon in 586 BC. The Babylonians had begun an assault into Judah almost 20 years earlier, and now the defeat was final. Included in Lamentations are 10 events relative to this epic defeat: the siege of Jerusalem, famine in the city, the flight of the Judean army, the looting and burning of the temple, the breaching of the city walls, the exile of the people, the execution of the Jewish leaders, the vassal or slave status of Judah, and the collapse of any foreign help. This poem of lament is about two ways of looking at God and looking at life. One is negative, one is positive. One is poison and death, and the other is energy and blessing and life. Let's look at both of these. First, the worst, found in verses 16 to 20. Think about the worst day of your life and what it was like during that difficult time. I think about a conversation I had this week with a pastor friend who had a rather difficult last 2 years. He was let go by the church that he had pastored for like 8 years. And then for 5 months, he taught in a middle school, a job that he said was very difficult for him. And then he finally became interim of a church, and that church would eventually hire him to become their full-time installed pastor. Well, that was a difficult year, yet it doesn't compare to being totally unemployed or physically or mentally impaired, or getting divorced, or having your house burned down, or going bankrupt, or being imprisoned, or being so depressed that you contemplate ending your life. The language used by Jeremiah gives us images of pain and despair, hoping for a good meal and not getting it, getting rotten and poisonous food instead, of having to feed on the dust and gravel of Baal worship instead of the bread of life, of being in a state of poverty or bankruptcy, both physical and spiritual, of feeling as if your life has been cursed. And then there is the positive, verses 21 to 24. Jeremiah admits that no matter the outward circumstances, he has hope in Yahweh God. He says that God's hesed, the Hebrew word for God's love, God's hesed love, sustains us. There is nothing that can happen to us that would nullify God's love and presence. God is a compassionate God, and his compassion never fails. To make this application to you, think of times in your life when you experience the compassion of God. Maybe God used a friend or a family member or even maybe a stranger to reveal God's love and mercy and grace and compassion for you. God's hesed love is like the morning sunrise or dawn. It comes up every day, every morning. It is 100% dependable. Great is God's faithfulness. Because of God's faithfulness, we will wait upon him, fully putting our hope in him. There's a classic song that we sometimes sing from our hymnal, our Baptist hymnal, based upon Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 to 23. These two verses, 22 and 23, from the King James Version. And the Baptist hymnal that we use, it is hymn number 54. If you have a different hymnal, it still may be in there, the song called Great is Thy Faithfulness. Let me share those words with you, and if you are teaching a class on this Sunday morning, then you might want to, if you can, to gather some hymnals and pass them out and let your students turn to the proper page and read these verses and chorus. It's a great way to think about worship. So here are the lyrics. Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not. Thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings are mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. So if you think you're having a bad day or are feeling somewhat depressed, think about Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 and 23, and the words to this great hymn, Great is thy faithfulness. They will inspire you and give you hope. These words will get your life perspective back on track. God bless. Have a great week.